I need you to take a look at this ridiculous video. The narrative that dog attacks on children result from children provoking dogs is so prevalent that one of these sick people took it upon themselves to create an animation in honor of this imaginary scenario. I mentioned this video in the past. I finally found it. I will leave a link in the description box. Now, I challenge any of you dog nuts to research the past, say, 10 most recent dog attacks on children. And if the majority of those attacks were the result of children provoking the dog, I will concede to your narrative that most attacks are the result of children provoking and harassing dogs. But I'm going to save you some time because I already have done the research. And in every single attack, the dog was unprovoked. Many of you saw this video that surfaced recently where this mutt came out of nowhere and attacked the child. It had 3 options, 3 potential victims, 2 adults and 1 toddler. This mutant attacked that girl unprovoked. And you also have to wonder, how could they insist that this is the notorious cause of attacks against children when they list the things that dogs attack for themselves, and they confess that dogs have a predatory instinct, that they will chase down and maul a small child simply if the child is running, moving fast. These are also unprovoked attacks. I don't care what it may be in the mind of a mutt. Again, we operate on human standards. You can't say it's not an unprovoked attack simply because it has a predatory instinct. I don't care what kind of instinct it has. And if it attacks people unprovoked, it does not deserve to live among humans. You sick people, so-called humans, really have some nerve to make such an accusation and not present any evidence to support the accusation. We've seen the adult dog lovers try to lie on the children who were attacked in order to save the dog that attacked them unprovoked. Many of you remember this story a few months ago. This dog dug a hole underneath the fence, crawled underneath it, attacked this child, and tried to drag the child back underneath the fence to the other side. This dog ended up biting this boy's arm off. And these sick people made up a lie. They claimed that the child put a sock on his hand, stuck his hand underneath the fence, provoking the dog. This is what they made up. And they say that the dog didn't know that this was a toddler's hand inside of a sock, and then bit the boy's hand off. Story was so ridiculous, they had to admit that it was a lie. So it's so rare for children to provoke dog attacks that these people have to make a scenario up out of thin air. If it's so prevalent, you shouldn't have to make things up like this. These people, these sick people, decided to show a dog in this video in a room by itself, right? Innocently sleeping like an angel. The child opens the door, right? Horror music is playing in the background. In a couple clips, they briefly made the child completely black. Not racially black, but black as in medieval artistry black, demonic black. The child is shown with rounded teeth. Then a few seconds later, they gave the child pointed teeth to further depict the child as evil. The boy then approaches the dog, and the dog attacks the boy. Then they write, quote, "Learn how to recognize the warning signs and avoid being bitten." This is nothing short of criminal. This is disgusting. Now, all of these are excerpts from the most recent dog attacks. 911 caller, quote, "Oh, this is horrible. He got the baby. He got the baby. He got the baby. He's trying to eat them up. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is a baby." Right? End quote. A baby. We know for a fact this baby did not provoke this mutt. Quote, "A 1-year-old boy is in serious condition after a neighbor's dog attacked him Tuesday in Detroit," police said. Police said the dog slipped out of its chain. Once again, end quote, once again, as always, what actually happens is that the dog breaks free from the restraint of its owner, and the first thing it does is looks for someone to attack, and it is usually a child. Another one. He and his fiancée had argued with the neighbor's family several times over how fast he drove down the residential street. And then one of them yells, "Sick." The dog runs out, and mind you, there's about 4 or 5 kids outside and about 3 or 4 adults. The unleashed pit bull jumped on the child, knocked his head onto the ground, and pulled part of his scalp away from his skull. End quote. There's no need for me to continue. Read the reports for yourself. These mutts attack children unprovoked. We have the articles to prove it. The owners of the dogs themselves confess that they were unprovoked. Of course, attacks on babies are all unprovoked. So what is with this animation, this cartoon? Make an animation about dog attacks on babies. They won't do that because they refuse to project dogs in a negative way, in a violent way, which would be a true depiction of dogs. They always try to hide the true nature of dogs behind propaganda. They would never project dogs in the same way that they project the children who are attacked by dogs. These people are absolute criminals. And we just turn our heads. We ignore them. We allow these people to run rampant. Don't even say anything about that. Has to stop. And these same people, these dog nuts, will reference to their ownership of dogs as proof that they are morally superior to people who don't like dogs. How ridiculous is that? Again, there are moments in history where immoral, devilish behavior has been normalized. Slavery was viewed as normal. It was viewed as God's will. They had a bunch of literary propaganda, verses from the Bible that they used, scientific racism, just flat out made up science. They did all of this to remove the guilt of slavery from the population. And this dog nut culture is very similar. They have a bunch of propaganda that they condition themselves with to remove the guilt of orchestrating the mauling of helpless children and babies. And once people lose their sense of guilt, their sense of shame and empathy, as we all know, they become a danger to the entire society. Most of all, a danger to the helpless. And they have the nerve, unmitigated, to put these mutants in every movie, every commercial, and project them as no different from the children that they maul. In fact, as we all know, they project dogs as if dogs are more innocent and harmless than children, as they did in this video, as well as every article that has been written where they suggest that dog attacks on children are the result of children harassing or assaulting these worthless mutants. This is such an obvious crime. Again, veterinarians take an oath to protect the public, to protect the helpless. They should be the ones on the front lines. Instead, it's people like us, everyday grassroots civilians, not the professionals. And we will continue with this relentless crusade against these worthless mutants and their disgusting, enabling owners.